Oh, hello. Fancy seeing you here. Well, greetings and salutations. This is Rick. I do hope you're having a great day. I'm out in the van and at the forest today in this particular video. Now, this video is probably not going to be for everyone. I'm going to be talking about some things that are not so happy and, this is not going to be one of my usual cheery sort of go for a jaunt videos, so you might want to pass this one by if it's not your cup of tea. But basically today I'm going to be getting a little bit slightly philosophical, I think, about life, the universe and everything, and I'm going to be touching on some personal stuff that's happened in my own life that's not necessarily brilliant, but basically, the reason I'm going here is because basically my last video, apparently it kind of touched a lot of people, and I know I get lots of comments on YouTube and on Facebook, but this particular video seemed to prompt an awful lot of personal messages that I got, where so many people have come back to me and said, I'm absolutely so get where you're coming from. With the whole sort of numbness and when you lose loved ones and stuff, and so I thought I would try to go into it a little bit deeper in this video. So like I say, it's possibly not a video that you're going to want to watch, but let's give it a go and see what happens. I had so many people get in touch with me by personal message, and I had some fairly long exchanges with lots of people about the place where they're at the moment, and a lot of people are relating to some of the things that I said in that video. Now, that last video, there's an awful lot that I cut out because I thought it might be a bit too heavy. So this video, I'll include those bits that I cut out last time, or I'll sort of go over them again. I learned something recently that I sort of assumed was right, but it was never kind of scientifically backed up, and that is the now scientifically understood and backed up fact that if you experience a lot of anxiety and fear in your youth, growing up as a kid, it has a major significant or can have a major or significant impact on your adult life. And I've sort of known that most of my life, or assumed it. It's only recently that I actually read that that's actually in fact true and is backed up by data. And that's like numbers, not the guy from Star Trek. It sort of explained an awful lot, and I've actually found obtaining that information very, very useful towards my attempt to try to sort of get some sort of a control over my life, because you may or may not know that, but much of my life is dictated by an anxiety disorder, and I know quite a few of you have read the article I wrote about it on my website, and it pretty much dictates how I live everyday life, and it's not something you can just kind of shrug off. And I've had so much correspondence with people who are in exactly the same situation, and who have exactly the same experiences, especially with with my other channel, with the meditation channel. I'm sort of helping people every day with these anxiety issues. And one of the things that I feel makes me very qualified to be able to write meditations and well, not necessarily write them, but to create meditations aimed at people with anxiety is because I suffer myself, and I understand it. I know where people are at, I know how they feel. But what I read recently was a little bit of a revelation, even though I sort of assumed it anyway. To actually read this as science fact was a little bit, I'm not sure what the word is. I'm not sure if it's liberating or just an acknowledgement of something I've believed for a long time. While I was reading this information, I'm thinking, that's me. That's exactly why I have the issues that I've got. Because a lot of my childhood I spent in a state of fear. I was always a very sort of anxious kid anyway. But I had all sorts of issues at home that basically left me in a state of anxiety and fear for huge chunks of my childhood. And essentially, I was a total weedy kid. I really was. I was a target for bullying throughout my entire school years. That sort of I just found so intimidating all the time, and it was just sometimes the bullying was so dreadful. It just puts that constant state of fear in the back of your mind, and you're just kind of there, and it just makes you really anxious, and it kind of builds up over time. And that wouldn't have been so bad, but then I had an authoritarian father who was incredibly, stupidly, ridiculously strict, and that just exasperated the problem. And what I found in my younger years was I found that I adopted this kind of persona, this what I call is my external persona mask. This was the way I would allow people to perceive me, and I was always this kind of really friendly, likable, affable sort of young kid. And as an adult, I look back and I realise it was a defence mechanism, because who would want to be horrible to somebody that was so nice? That was the way my brain was seeing things, and that personality became so ingrained through my childhood that is who you see now, and it kind of just became an automatic mask that I wear. And I mean, we all have these persona masks that we wear. Everybody's got two, maybe even three sides to their personality. You've got the side that you allow everybody to see. Then you've got your sort of true side that quite often many of us kind of hide away and just keep tucked away out of sight, even from ourselves. And then you've got the kind of the darkest side, your own darkest side. Everybody's got sort of thoughts, feelings, ideas, or whatever that they just don't want other people to get involved with, and those are kind of truly buried, and that's the way I look at the human psyche. You kind of got these three levels of your persona, and like I say, when I recently learned about this anxiety through childhood has big impacts on adults, and the number of people that I communicate with on such matters, and those people I communicate, so many of them are my own age, and it goes down to this particular era that we were brought up in, where you had kind of older generation parents, possibly some were in the war. My dad was in the war. He was in World War II. He was in Burma, and as a young man. And the thing is, don't get me wrong, I know I've talked about having a really strict father, but I don't blame him. He basically was in military school from the age of 5 years old, so every aspect of his upbringing was around kind of military discipline, and so that I can't blame him for being like he was, but I can acknowledge that the way he was, it kind of had a detrimental effect on me and has come with me through my adult years. But it's quite strange. I've only sort of just now, sort of 30, 40 years on, I'm only just being able to sort of start to digest this stuff in my head. And for years I've been wondering why I've had my entire most of my adult life dictated by anxiety. I mean, my official diagnosis is generalized anxiety disorder, and it just basically means that your anxiety levels are pegged off much higher than your average Joe. And like I say, it can have a very negative impact on you. It can have a very detrimental impact on your life. For me personally, it's kind of made me a little bit housebound. If I didn't have my van, because my van is kind of like my little safe place, I guess. If I didn't have my van, if I'm not near the van, if I'm out somewhere, I kind of start to get pretty anxious, and that makes travelling really difficult. I know my sister's been going on about going over to Spain to visit her, and for me, travelling is one of my. I'm okay driving, but any kind of form of like public transport or anything like that, and I'm very, very vulnerable to panic attacks, and it's just for me, the idea of being in a crammed, crowded train or a bus or a coach, or sat in a traffic jam on a coach on a motorway, that for me is my idea of hell, and that is an absolute panic attack trigger. And anxiety sufferers will invariably go through life doing whatever they can to avoid panic attack triggers, because obviously panic attacks are an integral part of living with an anxiety issue. This time of year is particularly bad for people of this kind of mindset, and I noticed my good friend Austin, he's just put up a video where he's talking about anxiety as well. And a lot of people suffer with this what they call seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, and that's where this time of year, where you lose the sun and it's just kind of dull and dank and dark all the time, a lot of people can kind of fall into that kind of low state. And I kind of totally empathise with that, because I do feel quite down this time of year. And I've always said I'm kind of solar powered. As soon as the sun comes out, I'm a different person, and I've got energy, I've got drive, I want to do stuff. But because the UK has just become this dark, dank place, it can be a little bit frustrating, and it can, this time of year, can be quite hard for a lot of people to get through. So, but yeah, the reason I'm sort of talking about this stuff is because so many people have contacted me and told me about their lives, and so often their lives correspond with the way my life has turned out as well. And they went through a lot of stuff that I went through as a kid, and it does seem to be the way of things from the era that we were brought up in. It was a very, how can I put it? A lot of people have really good memories of their childhood. I have a few, but a lot of people from that were brought up in the 70s and early 80s, they also have some very bad experiences from their childhood, and a lot of those revolve around really, really strict parents. Obviously bullying as well. Bullying was a big issue back then, and there was nowhere to turn to, so you were pretty much on your own. And when you go through a lot of your childhood with that constant, really dark fear kind of ruling over you, it really does, it just kind of trains you to become anxious about everything. And so that's pretty much why I am like I am. And like I say, I am just bowled over so many times by when people get in touch with me, and they open up to me, and they just talk about their lives, and the similarities are just uncanny. There's so much more similarity there than to be coincidence. And it's almost like there's this it feels like there's this generation of people who just have been brought up in this way, and that even now as adults, sort of 40-50-year-old adults, it's still with them, and it still has this detrimental effect on their lives. And for me, it's talking about this stuff, bringing this stuff out into the open. For me, it's a kind of I guess it's part of the healing process, I suppose. And I know I've been trying to tackle this for the last 15 years, I've been trying to sort of grab this issue by the horns and try to deal with it. And so far, I've been unsuccessful. I mean, I've tried various things. I've had counselling. I've had hypnotherapy, which was a complete waste of time. But it feels like I'm hitting this point in my life where I can suddenly start to possibly properly take this on, and sort of see if I can kind of roll with it and see whether I can do something about getting it to have less of an impact on my life. And obviously, if I can do that, if I can figure a way out of doing it, I shall be trying to do that in 2017. Part of what I'm doing today, going out to the forest, this is going to become part of my routine now. I might not do it every single week. I'll probably do it every other week, but absolute minimum every other week. But the other thing I want to get back into is like the meditation, just to kind of just get on and deal with this, because it's, like I say, it's held me back for so long, and I mean it's so frustrating. And I'm reaching a point in my life now where I'm thinking, there are probably a few years ahead than there are behind. And I really need to kind of deal with this and sort it. And but like I say, I've tried so many times before to deal with it, but it just hasn't worked. But even if it's a case of sort of accepting that it is a part of who I am and it's never going to go away, I think possibly that in itself can be healing. But I'm not there yet, But I've only noticed in the last sort of year or so that I've actually started to have the occasional memory come back to me of my childhood that was happy, and particularly with my dad, because up until about a year ago, the only memories I had of my dad were very, very negative ones. All I could remember was this really angry, shouty guy who would threaten me with, all sorts of stuff that terrified me. Even though he never. Now this is the important thing. He never ever carried out. Well, I mean, I got the occasional caning, but basically, my dad was an ex-army boxing champion. I mean, he was your absolute alpha male type, really intimidating. I was terrified of him, and because I knew about his boxing past, one of the controls he had over me was he would always, if I did anything, or if he was going to threaten me, with the nuclear deterrent to prevent me from doing anything, it would be a punch on the nose. Now, I remember once when I was being bullied, I got headbutted on the nose, and it was by far the single most painful experience of my entire life. And that, you don't easily forget something like that. And to have my dad threaten me with a punch on the nose was enough to keep me in absolute terror of him. And that was his nuclear deterrent, but he never used it. Thankfully, thank God. But I did get a few major wallops, which I think we all did in that era, because that was the way you brought up kids in that era. We don't have the same approach to bringing up kids back then as we do now. We're a lot more kind of sensitive to the whole process, or a lot of us are. But yeah, I don't know, I feel by getting this stuff off my chest, kind of putting it out there, sharing it, I don't know, I feel I've reached a point where I want to share that as a part of a healing process, because I've kind of, I don't know, the more I think about it, I seem to be coming out of this. I know in the last video I talked about going through this kind of sense of numbness over the last sort of 2, 3, 4, 5 years, because I lost my mum and lost another one of my sisters, and I sort of feel I'm coming out of that now, and I'm kind of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and all this stuff's coming out. All this, like I say, for the first time I've started having just a few kind of more happier memories of my dad, because up until now it's all been pretty dark stuff. So I'm kind of hoping this is going to be like a little bit of a step forward, you know. But I'm not even certain I'm going to publish this video. I don't know. I think I probably will, because I've got a feeling it might help others. One of the common themes I get in all of the correspondence that other people talk to me about is that by talking about this stuff, it helps other people. It brings out stuff in other people, and it helps other people to realise certain things about themselves. So in that sense, I think it's probably fitting that I should publish this video and actually put it up on YouTube. But like I say, it's a little bit of a heavy video. It's not my usual stuff, but I like to vlog about my life, and for me it's like I suppose like keeping a diary, isn't it? And at the moment I feel like I'm in this place where I can see potential healing in the future, and I think this may just be a part of that process. I've also as part of my kind of healing quest, I've just registered on a Reiki course, and I'm going to learn to become a Reiki master. At the moment I just feel kind of energized to do that. So I think it's important that I actually make the effort to do that, to follow it through. So I'm really hoping that this coming year, I'm hoping to do this, over the course of the coming year. I know it's the novelty factor still there. I'm back at the forest again, and this is literally only the second time I've come to the forest in absolutely ages. But I'm here. All right, it's only been 2 weeks, but the intention is to just keep coming back, keep getting those nice long walks. Just keep spending time in this air. Like I say, it'd be even more beneficial in the summer, because obviously you've got your oxygen-rich environment. But at the moment, not a huge amount of oxygen around. But there's probably more here than there is in the town. So there we go. I think I should leave this video here. I'm not entirely sure what I'm hoping to achieve with this video, apart from maybe some self-healing. So this video is probably coming across as kind of self-pitying, self-indulgent, which there's not I can do about that. It is. But I'm hoping it may resonate with others. Here's my spot here. And may even that scientific, learning about that scientific evidence that supports the fact that if you had a lot of anxiety as a child, it could explain why as an adult you may have a lot of anxiety based issues. If that helps anyone, great. But like I say, this is it's not my usual videos. I tend to be a little bit more upbeat and cheerful in my usual videos, but I don't know, I just kind of felt I need to make this one. And do feel free to leave notes in the comments below. Do feel free to message me on Facebook. Now I'll put my Facebook link below. I do get an awful lot of messages from Facebook. I try to get through as many as I can, but I can't absolutely guarantee that if you write to me I'll get back to you. But I always guarantee I will always read everything that everybody sends to me. The same goes for Facebook messages, YouTube messages, and comments. I read everything, even though I don't always write back. So there we go. Right, so that's it for this video. What's that been? 34 minutes. Yikes. Actually, I'll probably cut a load of this out, so it's hopefully a bit shorter than that. So that's it for this video. I hope it was possibly useful to someone. I don't know. I mean, if you felt it kind of resonated with you, know that you are not alone. There are awful lot more people out there kind of going through the same sort of stuff than you perhaps realize, and But yeah, I just kind of, I don't know, I just felt I need to make this video. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you in the next video, which will hopefully be a little bit lighter. Till then, take care.